Hi.
Maybe,
Oh shoot, I probably want to see that. So.
I could move over some.
Go ahead and sit here.
Is that all right? Hey, you can come over here, Vivian, and then I can space out like this.
Are you sure?
Oh, absolutely, and I'll just make it easier.
Okay.
No problem.
That was a guest one?
Yeah.
The Laurent Council.
You know what, it's right here, isn't it?
Laurent
Joe, just
Council.
move your bag. The Wi-Fi is here.
Joe, it should be just right up there.
The Wi-Fi's are on. Okay.
That one.
This is-
Laurent Council. Laurent Council is the password.
Robbie, when we're into the town hall, give people access to the live stream.
Say again?
Yeah, under town hall, agendas and minutes where everything is posted, will
Yes.
that give people access to the live stream?
Yeah, the button pops up once the live
The meeting
stream starts.
starts. Okay, perfect.
The live stream started, so you should be, yeah, it should be available to anybody.
All right, thanks, Alex.
I started earlier just because it takes a minute to
Okay,
get,
perfect,
but
thanks.
it's good now.
Okay.
Is there a way of adjusting so that Jordan's not covered there? There we go. Perfect. I think that's okay. Oh. You just-
When you click, you want it to be recognized as He was just there, but I don't know, picture for some reason.
I think he might have turned his camera off. Hugh, did you turn your camera off?
He said, "You're here."
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
You say yes or no? Probably no.
It's up top there, you can see his mic is off too.
Yeah.
HW is Hugh Walker.
Oh, I didn't see that. Recognize it.
We did,
This means
yeah.
it's-
Next time, I'll show you the on there.
It's minor, but we should be hooked up to the Wi-Fi now.
No, I'm saying next time we hook up with shit automatically on top so that we get in there.
Should be good to go.
Rob, what's the AllNet address? I just need to pull up the agendas. Is
Good
it like
question.
AllNet?
Laurent.allnetmeetings.com.
Okay, thank you. It's not archived on here. I don't have that. Sorry, Allison, can you repeat that? Laurent what? Oh, I see it on there.
Laurent.allnetmeetings.com.
Yeah, I see it on the screen over here.
I think it's 7 o'clock if we want to get rolling.
Okay, perfect. So 7 o'clock, Wednesday, November 25th, we'll call this, this meeting to order. We'll go right into the adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions from that? I think you already discussed that, right, Dean?
Yeah, the SHA will not be appearing tonight as a delegation.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm not aware of any changes.
Okay.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, so we'll carry those, carry the agenda. Move on to adoption of the minutes from October 28th, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes? Sorry, we can't hear Jordan. Okay, Jordan, I think that we're just having, we can't really hear you for some reason.
Your mic's off, Jordan.
Oh, there we go.
I think your mic's muted.
I heard it was very faint.
I'll move the minutes of the special meeting on the 12th of November.
I'll second that.
Okay, carried.
I have some questions. clarifications about the minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
It's the appropriate time, sorry, I'm not sure of the appropriate time to discuss that, is that?
Yeah, right now is good if you have a question, yeah, sure.
And we adopted the 28th minutes or no?
Yep, that was the first one.
And we're talking about the 12th right now?
We're about to go into that, yeah.
Okay, I had a question about the 28th.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yeah, go ahead.
Joe moved that we approve the special meeting minutes. I think he was on the wrong one.
Okay, all right, so can we back that up? I don't know how to, sorry, I don't know what the proper,
Are we on the 28th again?
yeah, we're on October 28th, so,
All right, mover, seconder, was there any discussion on that?
No.
on the 28th,
Just
yes.
call for the question to,
I have a
Those
question.
are our minutes.
on the 28th, Abby, or the 12th?
On the 28th.
All right, go ahead.
It's just a matter of clarification on resolution 2020-328, the return of block V plan 71 PA 13973 to the town. I'm just curious what the background on that was, or the reason for that motion.
Can I have the resolution number again? I'm sorry.
2020-328.
Okay. That was a matter of, there was a property that was in tax sale, but it was under an executor situation. And they asked council if we were okay to kind of construct a deal regarding the estate, which council approved, and we entered into an agreement, and that was the end result. Larry, is there anything else to add to that?
No, they had 30 days to pay all the taxes that were in arrears plus costs, and I'm not sure if that's been done yet, but that was the deal.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the minutes on the October 28th? Okay. So,
I'll second that motion.
okay, so the minutes on the 28th are carried, so we can move on to the 3.2, which is motion to approve the special meeting on November 12th. Is there any discussion? Do we have a seconder? Do we need to?
I'll
I
second.
had already moved that earlier and,
Right,
Yeah.
but we were out of order with that, so,
well, okay, I'll redo it then.
right? Is that how? Okay, all right. So carried, the special meeting on November 12th is carried. So let's go to 3.3, motion to approve November 12th committee of the whole minutes.
I'll move that we accept the special meeting minutes from November 12th, 2020.
Good second.
Just hold on, can I say, is that the special meeting, or I'm gonna just go back?
Now, yeah, we're on the special meeting, the committee of the whole.
Okay, so my conflict of interest was not with the Wolves Den, it was with Dartmouth, right? I don't think that's reflected in there appropriately, or is it?
It's listed as their conflict of interest with respect to the Dart League.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so do we have a seconder on that? Or is there any other discussion? Okay, carried. Let's go to, let's see here. 3.3, that's what we just did, 3.4, so we're moving on to November 13th. Special meeting, for the minutes there. Any discussion? Do we have a motion to approve that?
I'll move.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay, carried. Move on to 3.5, November 13th, 2020 special meeting. Any discussion?
to approve that as presented. That is the letter, the tri-community letter, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Do we have any seconders?
I'll second.
All right, special meeting minutes are carried. 3.6, business arising from minutes. I don't think that doesn't include anything, right, Dean?
Well, we need to appoint people to represent those committees and boards.
All right, so does that just take us to 3.6.1?
Yeah, and this is, these are our committees that we have third-party agreements with, so there is nothing, we have no standing committees as part of your procedure bylaw, so we either have an agreement or something in place for most of these. I would say that other than Fire Services Board, it's not really a committee of council. We have historically appointed people to that. Our agreement doesn't identify it as such, but we have done that, and the balance are third-party entities that we have agreements with, so we do need to name someone. And if we don't do it tonight, we do have until December 16th if we're unsure as well, just for the information to council.
Okay, I think, so I've gathered all the information, and correct me if I'm talking a turn here, I think we can go through here, and then obviously I can't really motion unless I pass the floor. But right now we don't have anybody who's interested in curling club unless someone wants to move that they are on that.
I think the history on that is because we have an agreement with them. This is to kind of fulfill the obligation of the agreement. So I guess there's a long history with that. Larry, do you want to jump in here on that? Are you familiar with that one? Your mic's off.
I can give some history on it if you're.
Yeah, please, George. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so the history on the curling club is it basically meets once a year, and it's basically just to renew its insurance and to renew its liquor license. It has like I think 3 motions and adjournment, so it's 1 meeting a year. So if nobody wants that, I can take it.
Yeah, that's correct. It was in order for them to be part of the town's insurance. Sorry.
I would also be fine.
Abby, you got it.
Okay, so we still have to motion this though, don't we?
What are the appointments?
So as far as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dean, we have to move and second and everything for every single council, right?
I know in the past we've done one motion for all of them, so if you want to say who's on what, we can do this one motion, it's entirely up to you.
Okay, so, but again, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, I cannot motion as chair, correct?
No, but I think all that's required, if you've done some homework in terms of pulling your council who would like to sit on these committees, just walk us through the list.
Perfect.
And then if they're all filled, then we'll just need one resolution to accept the appointments of outside committees and boards as presented.
Okay, sounds good. So curling, we'll put Abby, because that's sort of what we just decided. Airport advisory, we still have no one that's interested. Does anybody have any interest in that? We need a chair plus one.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I can give you a little bit of history
Can
on
we
that.
come back to that?
And I unfortunately have to declare conflict of interest because of my job, so.
Well, just before you declare, can I just give you a little bit of history, just so you're knowledgeable on the airport advisory?
Yep.
Basically, they've established, historically, they've established a group of different businesses out there, users in effect, that sit on that board, and the town just chairs a meeting. Jim is very diligent on putting together the agenda, so on and so forth. We were meeting quarterly, but honestly, due to COVID, there hasn't been a lot of activity out at the airport, so we haven't met since, I'm thinking, dating back to January. We get together every quarter just it's got what, you know, listen to the users out there and their interests. So, again, it's not a lot of work, it's just, you know, honestly, I would probably chair that one up again too. And what I highly advise of council though is that for somebody else to get involved, you know, just to do some listening, to learn what the airport's all about.
So usually, when are those meetings? It would be helpful to know, I guess, with the boards, if the meetings are in the daytime, on the evening, on the weekend.
Good question. Basically, right around that 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock type of thing, and they typically take maybe half an hour.
Okay.
So, and again, what's ever suiting for the, you know, the chair and representatives that are chairing the meeting in a sense.
You can put my name on there as the second person.
Okay. All right, perfect.
Can we listen to the list first before, you know, having all these appointments? Can we listen to what is suggested by Colin based on the workload that everybody seems to be taking on and they know they can take on, then we can assign what's left?
Sure, for sure. Okay, so the rest of them, the way that they stand, the EOC obviously has Hugh and myself on there. There are 3 people interested in the waste management, so Joe, Abby, and Hugh. The Fire Services Advisory, we have 4 people of interest. Hugh is interested in the chair position. Viviana, Jordan, and Ryan have expressed interest. The Regional Water Corporation, there's nobody that has expressed interest, and we need 2 for that. The Larange Public Library, Viviana has expressed interest. The Woodlands and Waterways Regional Visitor Center, there's 3 people that have expressed interest: Abby, Ryan, and Jordan. The Advisory Northern Planning Commission, I believe that it's the CAO +1, and Abby has expressed interest in that. Chamber of Commerce, we need 1, nobody's expressed interest. The Environmental Quality Control Committee, we need 1, there's no interest in that one that's been expressed. And then the last one is the Northlands College Program Planning. Viviana has expressed interest and has made it clear that she does not have a conflict of interest. And sorry, then the last one is the Visions North CDC Board. Abby has expressed interest in that as well. So I think we just take it back. I mean, I think we can just keep going down the list, or we can table this. I mean, it's up to you guys. Do you guys want to just keep going down the list and hashing it out?
Mr. Mayor, which ones weren't spoken highly of?
The ones that are currently sitting of no interest right now is the Regional Water Corporation, and we need 2 for that. The Chamber of Commerce, we need 1. Environmental Quality Control, we need 1.
So if we can have some background as to the roles for each committee and how often and when these meetings are, I think that would be helpful, because there are some committees that quite a few people have interest in, and it might be a deciding factor in terms of who's available when, that sort of thing, and what the role actually entails. If it's just an advisory piece or.
I guess right at the outset, I asked you about the regional waste. That was right when you got sworn in. I expressed, you know, that interest right.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any background on the ones that are sitting empty, and then we can kind of go through?
Is regional waste, I can jump in on that. Typically, those meetings are during the day, to my understanding, and that is by agreement, for sure. You know, they are a separate corporation, and the town is a party to that corporation as well. Larry, anything you've worked with them? Anything else on that? Your mic's off.
We haven't had much to do at the board level. I think, Hugh, were you on that?
Anyway, yeah, I've sat on the regional waste for the full 4 years, and those meetings, to be honest with you, yeah, you're correct, they do carry on throughout the day, and they can consume anywhere up to 3.5 to 4 hours in that day. So those meetings, and they're typically quarterly also. And just to speaking on the water corp. They'll coincide. Typically what we would do is we would sit in the morning with water, and then typically at 1 o'clock, we would roll right into waste management, because it involves players from the south. So to save some time and travel and whatnot, that's typically why the meetings, waste would take about 2 to 3 hours, and then water would also take another couple of hours to sit in on those committees. And hence why I will be breaking away from the water corp. It just consumes too much time in a day to sit on both committees. And I'll maybe touch on water corp. Basically, what we're doing, sitting on that water corp, the involvement there is not just advisory, but you're contemplating spending money. It'd be nice, Joe, I don't know if you sat on that water corp, it'd be nice for somebody with a little bit of history. Again, I say that because somebody coming in there new, it's nice to have a little bit of corporate history there, Joe, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, I need to express an interest. I agree that one of those on my list was regional waste and water was the other one.
I didn't get your water one, but yeah, okay, good.
So I hope I enlightened Mayor and Council on that front. Those two, along with fire's another one that takes, it's on throughout the daytime, so they consume a fair bit of time.
Yeah, both of those take a lot of time. I've sat on both of those in the past. And the water one, there's a lot of technical stuff. You do have history, I spent 5.5 years on the South Water Board. I have a little bit of background knowledge in terms of process and everything else. So.
Bear in mind for the Water and Wastewater Council that now that we have Cigars, our civil engineer, he's going to be engaged with those two entities on a technical level as well. So, council's role will certainly be less technical and more fulfilling our obligations from a governance point of view.
Yeah, those two are full board director appointments on both of those corporations.
Just to add as well, the Water Corp, I believe, is tentatively scheduling December 10th or 11th at 10:30 for a meeting. So they're just waiting for confirmation from everyone to see what date works, just for information.
Okay, is there any more information on the Chamber of Commerce or the Environmental Quality Control Committee?
The EQC, Environmental Quality Control Committee, I know that at this one in the past, I believe I was the town rep on that. When I was called to that committee, I think it was once in a 4-year term, and they gave me, I think it was like a 24-hour notice of meeting. So I don't recall receiving any kind of minutes from that or any kind of correspondence from it. I'm really not sure what they do. Go ahead, Abby.
I'll expand on that a little bit. It's kind of a liaison group, joint planning committee type style between the government of Saskatchewan and industry, typically uranium mining. So the NSCQC typically, when it's operating at its fullest, will do an annual tour of a mine or two. They also participate in some of the negotiations for social green and benefits to communities. So that's a general idea of what they do.
Okay, anything on the Chamber of Commerce?
I'd be willing to sit on it, but
For Chamber, okay. Is there any background on it, or is it just so that for people have information? No? Okay, all right, let's move this forward, that we don't sit on this forever. So the Waste Management Corporation, Hugh has served the last 4 years, and Joe did express interest at the very first meeting, but Abby has also expressed interest, so I don't know how you guys want to, it's not my job to appoint, I don't believe, so we just have to, I don't know what the best way to decide this is.
Typically, there's consensus of council, and hopefully we can come to an agreement tonight. Failing that, in the interest of time, we can think about this. We can secure more information. I can get Allison to the information that we're missing on the meeting dates and time of the blank committees. We'll get that information and provide it to council for the 16th meeting if we can't fill the seats tonight.
What I would like to do, if possible, Mr. Mayor, is just give you a little bit of background as to where waste has come from in the last 4 years. The last 4 years, 3 years ago, we started a project with the Tri-Communities, and we started a $12.5 million project building a solid waste facility or upgrading the existing dump. So again, I'd like to think that I bring a fair bit of corporate history there and have a good working relationship with both the band members along with Indian Affairs and Aeron. So I'd like the opportunity to finish what we started. We should be able to be walking into that new facility approximately as early as June of 2021. So again, I guess at that point, and typically, Dean, help me out here. What ended up happening in the last 4 years, we began these committees and wrote them out because there didn't seem to be, I don't know, a lot of call for changing things up at all. So is that typically how this all plays out? You begin your term and you end it? Or is it halfway through you change it up a little bit or what?
I think it's up to Personally, I think it's up to the discretion of council, but just to be clear, like the Curling Standing Committee, the EOC, Fire Services Advisory Board aren't as formalized as the Waste Management Corporation and Water Corp. Library is we're required to sit on that just because of our, we're part of the regional system and we've got a seat at the board. So like probably the two that involve the most work are the Original Waste and the Water Corp, arguably. Fire Services, it's not really an advisory board because we have a fire services agreement, and the three partners, the band, Aeron, and the town meet as required to talk primarily at the beginning of the year when budget discussions are there, and beyond that as required. So I just want to make you aware of that. And if there are any, the balance of them, Visions North again is more on the economic development side, and it's been a historical appointment. Frankly, if there's some situations, if council feels that we don't need that, that maybe we can accept minutes as opposed to appointing a member in the essence of time, we can enter those discussions with the organizations as well. This is historic more than anything other than the corporations, which are our legal entities.
Okay, thanks, Dean. I don't know, I'm sort of at a standstill here because we have more than enough people that are interested in each committee. So I don't know if we give each person a minute to discuss why they want to do it and then we vote on it, but I know that that's not really formal. I mean, what do we do here, guys? Because otherwise we're going to sit here for hours to debate.
My suggestion is that if you can forward your list,
okay.
Call them to Allison, and we'll list the names, and then we can do just a ballot by members of council, and
okay.
You can decide amongst yourselves by a secret ballot who you want to sit on there is one way to do it if you can't come to an agreement, because you're right, we got a lot of business tonight and we need to keep this thing moving. This is taking more time than it should.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan, you had something?
Like I would sit on the Woodlands and Waterways and probably the EQC. I do sit on 3 other boards plus town council, so if those are easier to manage, I'd kind of appreciate being put on.
And I would appreciate something that's meeting evenings or a weekend. During the day, it would just mean we're taking away from my work, so that would make it difficult. So
Okay, maybe once we get more information, then we can.
I'm actually open to anything as long as it's evenings or weekends.
Okay, perfect. Abby, you have one more thing there?
Yeah, I was just wanting to mention that, like, you know, with all due respect to those that have served on the regional waste management, that is a very forward issue at the moment. So the person or people appointed to that committee, I think, need to take on the role with that in mind, that it needs a little more advocacy from the public standpoint and somebody willing to do that.
Okay, I think that, I mean, someone's got a motion that we table this, right?
Yeah, we can do that, and council's in agreement, the names that you have, we can bring them forward and then circulate that, and you can by ballot, with majority winning and tie being a flip of a coin.
Okay.
So if council's in agreement with that, if you can forward that to Colin, which you have, or to Allison Colin, then we'll sort it out and fill in those that are there, and then for the 16th, we'll have something ready, the results of this mini process if council's in agreement.
Okay, I move to take the vote. Sorry.
I was gonna say, historically, with every new council, basically, everybody expressed their interest to the mayor, and he basically made the list and set it out, and then that list was either approved or not. Council did have the last say, because, I mean, it could be by vote, but that's traditionally how it was always done.
It's different now, though, is it not?
I think we're going to accomplish the same thing by the process we just outlined, as what Councilor Herdesky suggested. It's not, you know, if you can't decide yourselves, then you can vote amongst yourselves, and that's as democratic as it can be, and let's move on.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move to table this for now and for the.
I'll second.
To Allison.
Okay. So, where are we here? So 3.6.1 is tabled until, the next meeting is December 13th, correct?
16th.
Or 16th, sorry. Okay, let's move on to delegations. 4.1, Saskatchewan Health Authority is no longer making a delegation, so we move on to 4.2, which is the Lac La Ronge Community Mobilization, the hub with Ali Scott. So, Ali, I'll give you the floor.
Can you please move up here? I should be able to reach over there.
Are they going to be able to see that?
No, they won't be able to.
Can I interrupt? Are you making any petitions for anything? Can I know just information? Okay.
It's just information.
Okay, just checking because otherwise I have to like conflict.
There's probably a way that we can share the screen.
Oh, there we go. Let's see, I hit the thing that should make it big.
So,
Yeah, I'm not too sure which screen was going to go where, so it's on this one over here beside you.
Okay, should I just use this one?
Yeah, I just use that one.
Alright, if I click, is it still gonna go forward? Oh, there we go, alright.
If not, I could hit the key.
Nope, this will
Wasn't too
work.
sure how it was going to work. So.
Yeah, this will work fine.
Need you to speak up as well.
Absolutely. Am I far enough away that I can take? No, because we're inside. That's the thing. Okay. Good evening. Thanks for allowing me a couple minutes to speak today. I'm here representing Lac La Ronge Community Mobilization, also known as HUB. I am going to try to be getting through a lot of information today, so I have provided some information packets. The majority of the information I did provide online originally. I also brought some physical packets last week. The only difference is that those include a bit more of an executive summary about what HUB is, as well as what we estimate our annual expenses would be. They're in this building somewhere, but I see that they're not in front of us right now. My goal by the end of today's presentation is to go over what exactly HUB is, for those of you who might not know, to go through what we've been able to accomplish with the help of the town's funds, and lastly, to go into how the town can support us going forward. So at its core, HUB exists because no single agency or service provider has all the information, resources, or expertise needed to provide comprehensive service to those people in our community who may need it. What ends up happening is we end up operating in these separate defined silos. And in between those silos, we see communication gaps and we see gaps in service. So HUB is a way to address those gaps. It's a collaborative interagency approach to situations of acutely elevated risk. Those are situations where there's a significant probability of significant harm if there is no intervention. What our team is able to do is to collaborate and create integrated responses by mobilizing the existing resources that we already have within the tri-community. The steering committee exists to support the hub. So this is comprised of management members from the people who sit on the table as well as some government agencies. They're able to look at longer-term complex systemic issues that are brought to light through the hub table. We look at the 4 filters. This is how things are brought to the hub table. I'm not going to go much into this. I did provide information on what exactly each of those are. The important thing to note here is that the 4 filters allow us to strike a balance between managing people's confidentiality, their right to privacy, and our need for mitigating risk. If anything doesn't make it through like a filter, then we stop that discussion right there. It also ensures that only the people who need to hear that information are hearing it. Oh, it's up here. Based on month-to-month averages, we're looking at about 74 cases of acutely elevated risk brought to HUB each year. Of those 74 cases, we on average have 4 agencies collaborate to address the risk, and 80% of accepted HUB referrals, going back as far as I have data available to me, have been able to have that overall risk lowered. When we look at our top risk categories, they change year to year. We're able to track about 105 different risks. That gives us really valuable information about the risks that are present to our community members. This year we've seen that the top ones have been substance abuse issues, criminal involvement, family circumstances, and mental health and cognitive functioning. When we look at the past 5 years I suppose that is, we see that although it changes slightly, whether substance abuse is in the first, the second, or the third column, they seem to be pretty consistent over time. What we see here is that the RCMP is consistently our top referral agency. So that tells me a couple of things. The big one being that the RCMP recognizes that social supports are necessary to reduce overall crime, and that they aren't necessarily the best people to provide those supports, even though they are the ones being called to those circumstances. For the RCMP, the hub is a time saver. It allows them, instead of making multiple referrals to multiple agencies, they can make one referral to multiple agencies at the same time. It also has the potential to reduce crime year over year so that they can focus on bigger issues. Cool. There we go. So now that we've looked at what your dollars are doing, let's look at where exactly your funding has gone. It's gone to supporting my part-time coordinator wages, my training, so that I can do my job effectively. We've also recently purchased some meeting software so that we can do our meetings virtually. We were forced to close for about 6 months because there was confidentiality concerns about how we would do things like this online. We've solved that now. We currently have our meeting space, our accounting services, our equipment, as well as my office space all donated to us. What our reserve funding goes towards is ever if we can't have those things donated to us, we can't always rely on the goodwill of our community members. There we go. So funding isn't the only way that the council can support HUB. I am not making a request for funding today, although I probably will be next year, so keep that in mind. Another way is that we'd love to see municipal participation. Whoops. We'd love to see municipal participation on the steering committee if that's something that anybody would be interested in. We'd also love for council to be willing to engage with the HUB on issues that are important to them and to be able to spread the word about the work that HUB is doing and just making sure that people know that we are available. If we go back one, I was just going to talk about how it is a tri-community effort. Yeah. Sure, yeah. It wouldn't be possible without L'Orange, Arange, and the band all collaborating together. So in conclusion, HUB's able to address gaps through collaboration, identify systemic issues, and reduce crime and victimization. This would not be possible without the continued support from the town of L'Orange, and it represents the support of community safety and your commitment to that. Here I've identified where my data came from and some potential sources of error. And does anybody have any questions for me? I hope I made that in 5 minutes.
Emily, are you going to be requesting funds for 2021 from the town?
I will likely this time next year be requesting funds, but I'm not at this time.
Okay, because we're starting to get into our 2021 budget process. So if we need something by the end of December or January if you wanted it included for consideration in 2021.
Sure, I can get that together and I can talk to my co-chairs about that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. One thing is my position used to be a full-time position, and since I moved down to part-time, we have twice the funds hypothetically available to us because that's a much smaller expense now. Any other questions?
Alan, when you said there was potential to have a council member sit on the steering committee, do you know, is that one council or two, or has somebody been there before?
I am relatively new to the position. I haven't had anybody from council sit on the steering committee meeting since I've been there.
Yeah, there never has been. It's been the partnership pieces, the partners are in play. They have always sent like a manager or a supervisor to be part of the steering committee.
We could also have somebody on as ad hoc if you guys want to mostly be part of situations where acutely elevated risk is, or not acutely elevated risk, where, what's the word I'm looking for? Systemic issues are being brought forward because that might be more of interest to you.
The other option would be for your organization to provide the town minutes of your meetings, and those could be circulated to council to keep them involved without actually appointing people on as well.
Absolutely, I can do that.
Any other questions? Okay, great. Thank you, Ellie. Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. So we move on to number 4.3, which is Men in the North.
I have to declare conflict.
Okay. Is Chris here?
Chris,
Oh.
yes. Do you like me over there?
I was expecting. What's
Christopher Moransky?
Yeah, are you Christopher Moransky?
No, I'm Christopher Cooper.
Ah, okay. Because we had a Christopher Moransky on here. So are you taking his place?
I am here in his place.
Got it. Okay, great. So if you'd like to come here, that'll be where you can stay there. It's up to you. And yield the floor to you.
Sorry, I lost the agenda.
I don't have a fancy PowerPoint presentation, it's just myself. We, in the concern of time, realizing that we have a number of important issues on the agenda and so on, I'm going to summarize what I think the Men of the North would like to have you know. And I guess I would be offering my support as well. By the way, I'm Christopher Cooper, mental health specialist for the Lac-Barge Independent Health Services. My role is like clinical psychology and psychiatric nursing, 20 some odd years in that background and so on. So when I think of the Men of the North, I think, wow, this is a really great organization that's doing positive things and impacting our communities in really positive, progressive ways into the future. I think what the Men of the North would like you to consider at this point is that support would be something I'm sure that Christopher Moransky would like to discuss a little bit further. Right now, I think what we need is some square footage. We need a location. We've been using the Silver Building over on Lawrence Hill, as well as a number of other locations to have our weekly meetings. We have a number of really positive things in place that have been happening as well. Tremendous amount of help towards the community, food packages and things like that, especially COVID-sensitive stuff and so on. It's multicultural, it's open to anybody who wants to show up. And we also aren't just exclusive to men only as well. We do as well when we think about our community involvement as being egalitarian. Everybody can be involved. So a lot of really great things have happened. Primarily, I'm going to say that I give a lot of thanks to Christopher Moransky for his initiative, taking the steps to get it started. I had already, through the band, started working on a similar programming, and I have to admit that I was quite thankful that Christopher Moransky came along at that time, because he had done a tremendous amount of groundwork in getting really healthy, positive programming, men's oriented, of course, to begin with, in place. I have full support with the Lac Orange Indian Band. My supervisor and the director are all for what's happening. And we have offered up some financial support as well too, as well as my services quite extensively. So I think that would be it in about a nutshell. I'd be happy to take any questions, and I'm also very thankful to be here. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Chris. I do have a question. So I know I read the executive summary presentation that was forwarded to all of us, and I did notice that you wanted a location. Like, I'm not aware of what locations the town owns. Have you done some groundwork in regards to that and identified
I'm not sure.
the area?
Christopher would be the full-time person on that.
Oh, okay.
I'm the mental health specialist. My focus is on what types of messages and programming that we're offering up, which is also very well informed in terms of what type of space requirements would be. I know that right now the building that we're looking at is the one that's the dental office right next to the Urban Reserve. The lower space, I think it's 6,000 square feet.
Oh, okay, so the old drugstore, I guess, at one point.
Yeah, I think so.
It would have been the old
So,
drugstore.
The old power plant was another building that was interesting as well too, but I think zoning or something like that. I forget exactly what was up with that, but somehow. And I think it has been since sold, I think. I'm not sure, but, so. I can say that, I just can't help but say this. I was thinking about the important message that I could give you people this evening. A space allowing for, you know, in essence, 24-hour programming. We don't have that in place at this time, but would allow for 7 days a week daytime programming. We could expand on in terms of the amount of people that we could actually employ, as well as offer up volunteer services. So we would employ somebody that would be involved in organizing a volunteer program to also initiate. So we're looking at really offering tremendous opportunity to younger people, well, people of any ages, but a lot of younger people are getting involved as well too. So,
Okay, so when you say space, are you looking for endorsement and support? Are you looking for an in-kind donation? Are you looking for, what is that?
I think ultimately a partnership
Okay.
would be what we would be interested in. I don't see the Men of the North being a short-term impact by any means. I think it's gaining support and it has really good direction. It's going to be a long-term organization. And we have a number of already letters of support, as well as people who have offered up funding and partnerships and so on. So it's really, really quite progressive and happening in a really great way. I'm really thankful to be a part of it. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
for sure.
Yeah. So.
For the information of council is that Christopher did address council, the former council, and the town did provide a letter of support to Men of the North, and there was no request for services or cash at that time.
Yes, that's correct. Absolutely, yes.
So right now, is that what's being sought, like a letter of
That's a
support,
part of
or-
the objective this evening, is to offer
Okay.
negotiations or discussions to consider the idea of some support. How long and how much, I couldn't say at this point. I'm thinking that we're garnering a really good momentum with people, and chemical being one, as a matter of fact, and so on. So, and then plus because it wants to be an integrated part of the community, and the town of La Ronge is a huge component, you have to admit. So of course we want to be involved and partnered up. However, so yeah.
Again, the letter did go out in the end of October, I believe, and where we left it is that if there was any further request from Men of the North in terms of financial assistance, that they were to send something back to council, right?
Okay.
So, from my understanding, when I looked through some of the documents here, where the Men of the North is strictly kind of there's no core funding currently available. It's basically grant writing into the project, and then from there using whatever dollars do come in to fund the program entirely year after year.
Obviously, it's in progress. Ultimately, yeah, we would very much like to have something secured that would be, you know, regular funds that we could count on, of course. I think we're also involved at this point, well, not I think, but we are involved at this point in terms of doing a little bit of research in terms of what we're up to, what type of impact we have had, and what type of impact we can project as well. I think that would also, I think about it from an academic perspective, and my background is also academia in university, so I can totally appreciate the value of some current research that would help to support that. I really don't question that it's possible. I think it's happening, and it's happening in a really good direction, I think, overall. So, one of my concerns has been that for the amount of work that we're doing, that a full-time secured position is something that's going to be necessary. And like I said, we're working in the process of getting that into action. That's going to be possibly through Chemical as well a little bit. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions?
I've just asked Robbie to please pull up
Oh, okay.
the information that was sent, so we can all see it together, and I think it's a great cause, and thank you for coming here this evening. And I personally would like to move that the current council, the town of Vermont, provide a letter of support to Friends of the North.
Yeah.
I believe we've signed a letter of support, Dean, did we
Yes.
not?
Yeah, we have already. It represented the council, whether it's current or former, so it's in place.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, so then, okay.
Thank you very much for that.
I mean, technically,
Go ahead, Jordan.
I was gonna say technically, I guess on a point of order, Mayor Rachishniak, is that the motion that Viviana, or Councillor Riz has brought up is speaking to, I guess, a current sitting members of council. I don't know if, I mean, the order of the day of the October 28th meeting, I believe is when it was brought up. If it was not the 28th, the one right before it, was that just the town of La Ronge supports it. If it is any, I don't know if it would be necessary to have the current council sign a letter, but I mean, as an organization, the town of La Ronge supports the letter already in writing by way of the motion that we had at our last meeting. So just on that point of order, I don't know if you want to continue to say that I guess the motion would stay in order, or if you would call it out of order.
It's a very good question, because I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think if it was opposed and then we had a new council come in, I think that that's something that we would bring as a point of order, but I don't think we have to if it's all.
Yeah, so we can just maybe agree to continue with that endorsement. But there was also a request in there around square footage, so I think we would need more information around what that means.
Yeah, I mean, I might be talking in a turn here, but I just think, like, from the information, I'm really thankful that you brought it forward, but I just think that we need a little bit more direction of what you're looking for, just on specifics, so that we can come to the table with something to provide to you. Because I think we can all agree that we're in support of it. We just need to know specifics, and also know what the other communities are also committing to, and then we can maybe come to that.
Yeah, I'll be having a discussion with my department as well in that regard too, and I'd be happy to tell you that once I know. Okay, so what would you like me to do? Would you like me to discuss this with Christopher Morasky and put something in writing towards?
I think so. I mean, I think so.
I think that's the best approach, is to get, just, as an organization, decide what, how the town can assist the organization and then put that forward to the.
Yeah, like specifically, because I know that the request says allocation, but does that mean help with the rent? Does that mean provide, I guess just.
Yeah,
more
I wish I
clarification.
was more privy to that information.
I think in fairness to other organizations in the community as well, we need each organization to be as specific as they can on the ask, and then council would deal with each one of those on their own merit at that time.
Sounds good. And we'll put a proposal forward.
Perfect, thank you,
Okay.
Christopher, we
Great, thank
appreciate it. Is there any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Then I can be excused.
You can be excused,
Sure,
thank you so
thank you.
much.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you guys for coming, we appreciate it. Thanks, Natalie. Okay, let's keep plugging along.
Just be sure to allow Councillor Vetri back into the.
Oh, yeah,
council.
that's a good idea. Thanks.
Come on in.
Okay, moving on to number 5 on the agenda, correspondence. 5.1, delegations requested councils. I don't know what that is, so what is that?
If there's a letter, I'm assuming, can you click on that, or
Which one?
delegation request to council?
5.1?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Which one I got in it? Mine says something last.
Do we know what is that? Is anybody?
Nothing actually, there is no ask at all, so you can go right to 5.3.1.
Okay, perfect. So 5.3.1, Northern Animal Rescue Quarterly Report. Are you able to pull that? Is this for information purposes
Yeah, it's
only?
information only, yeah. If there's any questions on it, we can ask the entity directly.
And you can just make the motion to, you know, if you're willing to accept the report as presented.
Does everybody know the background of the town's agreement with the NAR?
I can't say that I do.
No, I would love some history on that.
We actually have an agreement that we could provide to members of council if you wanted that, which would give you exactly the terms of engagement that we have, because we do provide a funding, and in return for that, they provide space and meet the requirements that we have to provide animal sheltering in the community, the long and short of it.
I think it'd be a good idea to provide what's in the existing agreement, and if council sees fit to maybe review that and see if that's still the wishes of the council, and maybe there's something to be added or changed. But I think it's important to understand what the agreement is at this point.
I agree with Joel.
I would have to agree with both councillors.
Yeah, we can send you the agreement, and there is a kick-up clause on that on both sides, so, yeah, we'll just make sure we forward that to you.
I would like to suggest that we bring this up as a discussion item at another meeting, either December, January, in regards to getting all the information about our duty to provide animal control and the agreement with NAR and facilities.
Okay.
That was an annual agreement, or it's
So
annual?
we just have to move, there has to be a motion here, right? That we just accept this, is that correct?
Yeah, except this is information that's presented, yeah.
I'll move that the administration provide an overview of the organization agreement with NAR at our first meeting in January. The next meeting is probably going to be quite busy still.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion is carried. Okay, let's move on. 6, committee report, 6.1, the CEO administration reports. I guess we go straight into the,
Point of order.
go ahead.
I believe we did not pass the resolution that the report from the Northern Animal Rescue be accepted as presented.
It's received as information, isn't it?
Yeah, we should probably get a motion, because we had a second motion to provide the agreement, which we were just gonna do. It didn't really require a motion, actually, but
I so move.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All right, motion's carried. Thank you for that, Abby. Keep me on track here. Committee reports, CEO and administration reports.
We filed that. If there's any questions on any of the items, we'd be happy to answer them.
I'm sorry, but I have a list.
Okay, go ahead, Abby.
Okay, I can do rapid fire. There's mention of work with North Sask for tax exemption agreement. Who's North Sask?
You have that on your agenda further on.
Oh,
They're,
okay.
they're a not-for-profit entity, and they've asked for a tax abatement, and we've got an issue report that's signed off by the entity in front of council now.
Oh, okay, thank you. Should I just ramble through these quickly?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Second bullet in the building and bylaw planning and development report. Is there more information that we can have on this? And is there any pre-proposal meeting scheduled with council, and how is our policy guiding these conversations?
Are you referring to the, what are you referring to? Sorry, which report?
Sorry, the building and bylaw, the second paragraph. Or second bullet, sorry.
All right, and just let me get to it, sorry.
What was the question?
Is that under the activity report or ongoing projects report there, Abby?
I believe that's activity report.
The second point you're asking there, Abby?
Yes. I'm coming to this, so.
Okay, that's still in the works, or Dean wants to chime in on that one. That's that proposed subdivision?
Right.
Yeah, we're dealing
I'm
with.
just wondering how land policy is guiding that.
Well, where we're at this point is that we're in no negotiations. It's at the point where they're going to be providing a development permit. So it's the zoning bylaw that's guiding it, and we're in discussions at this point. So there's really nothing more I think to deal with other than it's ongoing, and we're having discussions with them. There's really nothing at this point that would be outside of what we can't do that will require council approval.
Okay. Further down, I believe this is still in planning and development. What is the status of road development in the industrial area? Because there's mention in the report about the paving or gravel of roads, development of roads.
I'll let Robbie speak to that.
Sorry, which one was this? I don't remember. What?
It's in your activity report.
Which point?
Was it that or stashes potentially?
Probably stashes. I didn't comment on paving or gravel.
There was mention about development of roads or upgrading of roads, gravel roads. And I was just curious about where we are in the industrial area.
I think
Carlsley.
what I think our director of operations, municipal operations, is doing is that he's becoming familiar with the road system and is doing an analysis on where things are at. So other than him reviewing it kind of as part of his activities right now, and that's about all we really have. There's no action report on other than it's going to be part of an ongoing process because we don't really have that in place right now.
Okay. Next one quickly. There was mention of property maintenance bylaw, concerns about needing to develop a plan and create a list of properties with maintenance concerns. I'm just wondering, how does that bylaw serve our goals and how is it working generally? Because I know this has been an ongoing discussion about nuisance properties. So is this something that should maybe come before council to have a policy-based discussion about how we want to guide these actions?
Well, your bylaw is clear, and we've been given direction by the former council to proceed to commence the process of identifying and then ensuring that unsightly premises and derelict vehicles are brought to a higher standard. So it's kind of the beginning of the process where our bylaw officer is going to be assessing, driving around. We're going to get pictures and kind of start presenting and then determining how we're going to proceed to do that with, on the enforcement side, which would be likely letter of warning. And some properties are more complicated than others, just given the landlord may not reside in the run. So, we're kind of, it's a plan, I think, that's going to take us months to get to the finish line on, and before we actually get to the point of enforcing it. So when we get, I think, the end result of that, it should be brought back to council to update you, but we're not there yet.
Okay, so when it's a policy-based discussion on how we do want to approach that, then it will come to us?
Well, the policy-based discussion is already there because you've got a bylaw that's clear in terms of enforcement, and what is happening is there's many properties that are in contravention of that bylaw, and the former council made the decision to proceed to enforce, so that's where it sits.
Okay, I guess what I'm thinking about this is that if we have the bylaw in place, but we've never enforced it, what good is it? And just going into enforcement, is that going to serve our goals, or is there another way that we can work from a policy angle to ameliorate the issue?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure exactly understand what I know what you're saying, but I think that, and that has been the issue, is that historically there just hasn't been enforcement on many of these properties, and again, the direction we have is to identify and plan how we're going to engage that, and in some cases they may be letters of warning, but you're right, like there's no point having a bylaw if council's not prepared to enforce it, and that's the direction that we're going in right now.
Okay, well, going on that, I'm just going to make notes about maybe discussions that I'd like to suggest for committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Two more little things. There's a note about project number 7 in your projects report about a subdivision coming from, it was submitted to Government Relations Community Planning Branch.
Right.
Does the council get to see that when it is referred to the town?
Yeah, if that was the case, right now we're just commenting on it, and there may not be a planned subdivision. It's part of the co-op development actually, and there may be, it's in planning branch's hands in terms of whether it's going to be a surface lease or a subdivision. So those are the discussions we're in right now.
Okay. And then final question, project 11, sign corridor. When is this agreement up for renewal, and when can council do a full review of the agreement?
I'll refer that to Robbie.
Pretty sure it's an annual lease we signed to the Chamber of Commerce. It'll be coming due this year, I think, unless it, I don't think that the other agreement was continual.
Okay.
And yeah, I agree, we should change it a bit.
We can actually, rather than getting into the detail, we can forward council a copy of the agreement just so you know what it looks like, and then we can leave it at that, and if there's further action from that point, we can figure that out later if that's okay.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, we have to move on this too, right? Or no?
Motion to accept the activity and ongoing project reports as as presented.
It's nice to know they're read too, Abby, thank you.
I move to accept the activity reports as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion to that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion's carried. All right, financial statements and updates, 7.1 budget control report.
we can deal with all 7.1, 2, and 3 altogether, Mayor Peters, if you like.
Fantastic, let's do that. So let's look at 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. Any discussions or questions?
I have to declare 17185.
As always, conflicts of interest.
I have one little question. There was, I think it's 7.1, line 55321, planning downtown revitalization. There's a budget in place and nothing was spent. Is that reading it correctly?
Let us get to it here and we can answer that.
Abby, can you give that number again?
It was line item 55321.
5.
It's ED planning expense.
Oh, I see.
Page 7.
Oh, yeah, I think some of that is to, when we advertise and move the, part of it is partial salary for the economic development coordinator position, which hasn't been expended. So when the budget was in place, the structure adopted, yeah, that's what it's for. So we advertise, and if it starts this year, then that's what that'll be, part of that'll be expended.
Great.
Any other discussion, questions? Another 10 more seconds on that, and then perhaps we can move on it.
So percentage, I have a question.
Move.
No, I
Sorry,
have a
just
question.
1 sec. Viviana's got a question.
So with the percentage spent on these budgets, the town runs on the fiscal year until April and March, correct?
No, we are January 1 to December 31.
Okay, so these budgets, in terms of the percentage spent, is this the typical percentage spent by this time of year? Or is there a budget that is overspent or underspent that is not typical for this time of year?
Well, I think in general terms, when we presented the third quarter forecast, is that there are over and unders, and when the budget is presented, it's our best estimate. This year, there was a complete overhaul of all the accounts and based on 3 averages. So, and we relayed that to council. We're anticipating about $1 million surplus in totality. Some of that will be carried over into next year. So there are going to be over and unders in each line account, and in some cases, some will be spent a little later on in the year. So it's, you know, it's hard to say. I don't think anything's typical in terms of the percentages.
Hey Dean, can you clarify to council, those check listings, those are checks that have already been paid, and it's not a matter of declaring on each one, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We've already been paid. It's for your information because we're bound to disclose, you know, what's already happened in relation to your personnel policies. So all that is for your information, and they have been, that's right, they've been paid or issued. At this point, without changing your personnel policy or your purchasing policy, anything over $10,000 we would have to bring to council. So that's correct, Councilor Watt.
Thank you.
All right, any further discussion or questions? This has already been, this was sent to everyone on Friday, I believe, so. All right, do we have a motion here?
I'll move
You
that
can
we,
accept all 3 reports.
I'll move that we accept the financial statements and updates, budgetary report, the check registry, and the bank reconciliation.
Do you have a seconder?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? All opposed? All right, motion's carried. All right, number 8, motions, 8.1. I guess we're gonna have to do these all separate, hey? Joe?
Yeah, again, council, if you recall through committee of the whole, you discussed these thoroughly, and these are the recommendations from your committee of the whole meeting. So you have, unless there's any change, read from 8.1 rate to 8.5.
I move to pass these motions as presented and discussed at our
Each one
last
has
meeting.
to be done independently from my.
Yeah,
Does it?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I
one
move
at a time,
to
please.
pay, what is it, Country Asphalt, is that what they're called? Country Asphalt Limited with 5% holdback for a total of $77,488.87 for the pavement patching program.
I'll move,
Second.
or second.
Sorry.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion's carried. 8.2, snow stop contract.
That's for the airport, correct? Snow
Make
stop
a motion
contract?
that the council award the snow stop request for
No, this
job to
is
seal it up roofing as quoted in code 2209 for the price of 11,205 plus all applicable taxes on the basis that all the work requested be completed by no later than December 6, 2020.
Second.
all right, any discussion about that? No, all right, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion's carried. 8.3, walking path payment, pardon me.
I move that council pay Country Asphalt Limited in the amount of $61,784.76 as presented for the walking path rehabilitation project.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, call for question. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion's carried. 8.4, the Laurent Dart League.
Okay, I'll move that council direct administration to develop a policy regarding waiving fees for the use of town facilities, and further that a discussion regarding the request from Laurent Dart League be tabled.
I'll second that.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, we'll move to question. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion is carried. 8.5, offer to purchase additional land adjacent to lot 8, block 29. I have to declare a conflict of interest on this, so I will pass the chair to Jordan on that.
Now, so I can make the motion?
Whoa. Did we not agree that we were going to find out the value of
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, we need the motion though, and I think you already made it. Yeah,
Need it. Okay.
yeah, correct.
We,
Go ahead.
at the last meeting, we
Well, I will-
decided that
I
we
will
were gonna
let
get Sama
council
to do
ex-
an evaluation on that land, and have we got one?
I think Councilor Herdesky, the direction from council is that we were gonna look at developing a policy in relation to that, and we weren't to get an evaluation, so that's in the process right now.
Okay, so I guess presenting this motion, we can oppose the motion if we're in disagreement, right? Is what.
Well,
Correct.
My recollection
have
of that
a
thing was
negative
that we were gonna get, council had asked, I think I particularly asked for administration to get Sama to do an evaluation on that land before we make a decision on it.
My recollection from council was that you didn't want to proceed with this deal, and we were to look at a policy in relation to undeveloped lands, which we're doing, was my understanding and direction from council.
That's correct.
So, but this is undeveloped land.
I know, but there was, on this particular parcel, I asked if we could have Sama do an evaluation. The town has got its own formula for doing it at this point. We agree that it's not right, but we need that second opinion.
Sorry. To call order, I'm going to call order to the meeting here, and I'm going to recognize Councilor Bashara.
Okay, I would like to move that council accepts the offer from El Parada and R. Walker to purchase additional land adjacent to Lot 8, Block 29, Plan 65 PA 05339 or 399 for an amount of $1,000.
I'm gonna request a recorded vote on this.
And I'm going to request an amendment to that resolution.
Okay, so, for order purposes here, there needs to be a seconder to that motion. And from, I guess I will also state as a point of information that the motion cannot be a negative motion. And if we recall from last meeting, the motion has to be something to be voted on, and we can make a motion and vote against it if necessary. But in order to have a full discussion on this motion, there needs to be a seconder to this motion.
I'll second that motion.
I see a seconder, and there has been a request to record the vote on the matter. I will now recognize Councillor Liz with a potential for a motion to amend.
Okay, that council accept the market value, a market value offer from El Parada and R. Walker to purchase land, additional land adjacent to Lot 8, Block 29, Plan 65 PA 05399 for fair market value.
Is there a seconder to that motion?
I'll second that.
Seeing as there is a mover and a seconder to an amendment, I will now open the floor to discussion on the matter.
On that specifically, while I understand what you're trying to do, Councillor Bruce, I think the best way to go about this is to look at what is before us for a decision, which was the offer to purchase for $1,000.
Sorry, Abby, you're going to have to repeat that. You're breaking up. Like, we can hear you, but connection.
And decide if we are going to accept and to go to fair market value is not appropriate.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment, please?
Yeah, Dean, I'll void the chair to the, or not void the chair, but chair will recognize administration.
From an administrative point of view, what's being suggested is that you are committing to the sale of the property in advance, and we believe, I would suggest that it'd be more appropriate to wait until you have the policy discussion on undeveloped land to understand the methodology to do that first, rather than committing to a sale of a property to a purchaser at this point. And we feel that's a better sequence of events to get council to where they need to go, because that was a discussion in committee of the whole. At the market value, the price wasn't right, and we couldn't determine what that is. And factors that we would consider is what Councilor Hordesky said, among other things, yet to determine that. And we're not there. It just happened at committee of the whole, and this is going to take some time for us to research that. We've just recently received the report on market value for residential and commercial industrial developed land, not undeveloped. So we want to use it as a base, possibly for this particular instance, and we don't think it'd be appropriate to consider any kind of a sale until that policy is before council, which is we don't have ready right now.
Just one second here. I did see that Councilor Bouchard did raise her hand. Joe, I do recognize your hand in the video there as well, and I will come to you next.
Thank you. Just one small point about this matter is the land in question is adjacent to an existing property. It is being used by the property owner, and I don't believe that there is a time constraint on coming to a decision for this. The properties in non-compliance, it's not going to change if we make a decision this meeting or in 2 months. So I'm just putting that out there.
Councilor Hordesky.
I'm glad that administrator spoke on this issue. That's exactly what the direction we were agreed upon in the last meeting, was that we would form a policy on evaluating land, and I think we have to go through that process before we make this motion for $1,000.
On a point of information, before I go, is there anybody that has any additional comments before I make a point of information? Hearing none, I'll continue. So with the point of information, I apologize to Councillor Bashara. We didn't hear a lot of your comments, so I might be touching on some of the same things that you had brought up in your comments. But all council can truly deal with is the matter at hand, and right now we have an offer to purchase for $1,000. We don't have an offer to purchase for fair market value, so we have to deal with the matter that's at hand. With myself, I can't make a motion. The current motion on the table is a motion to amend to do fair market value. We don't have an offer to purchase for fair market value at this time, so I would rule that the motion would be actually out of order. Before it would be considered to go for before it would go to a vote. So if somebody would like to challenge that on it being out of order, then I guess it would go to a majority vote of council if the council procedures bylaw allows for that. I know that I am the deputy mayor, which means that if I had to pass the chair to somebody else, it would go back to Mayor Petrushniak, which at that point would not allow for him to be here because of the conflict of interest. So it would have to be a matter of all councillors to rule it out of order if there's a appeal to the chair.
To the chair, just as well. Normally this would be a negotiation, and to negotiate the fair market value would be inappropriate at this time when possibly we could do better on a negotiation without knowing how to value it. So administratively, again, we'll go back to the need to identify the methodology first, and then we can bring that back to council.
So I have ruled as the chair that I see the motion to amend to fair market value as out of order. Which would bring us back to the original motion.
Right.
And we have can I request a recorded vote?
The vote has already been requested, recorded vote, yes.
That's fine.
So,
That's fine.
yeah, so that's, the vote will be recorded, as a point of order. So right now, the motion at hand is that council accepts the offer from L. Rada and R. Walker to purchase additional land adjacent to Lot 8, Block 29, Plat 65, PA 05399 for an amount of $1,000. That is the current motion at hand. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I will, seeing as we are in Skype and I can't see hands going up or down, what I will do is I will go around the table and ask individual councillors how they vote on the matter and for the recording of that vote. So starting with a Councillor Hordisky on the matter at hand, how do you vote?
I'm opposed to the motion.
Okay. Councillor Riz?
Opposed?
Okay. Councillor Vetri?
Opposed?
Councillor Bashar?
Opposed.
Councillor Watt?
In favor.
And for myself, I vote against. So the motion is defeated in a recorded vote of 5-1. We can get Mayor Petrushniak back in as this matter is dealt with and move on.
Where are we, Deputy Mayor?
Field management.
We are item 8.6, and I will pass the chair back to Mayor Kushnick at 8:25 p.m.
Thank you. All right, 8.6 fuel management plan. So should I, sorry, just for clarification, because I want to make sure that I'm on top of everything, do I need to be reading this resolution number, or resolution back to you guys, or am I waiting for a motion to happen?
In this particular case, I think from committee, the matter was referred for information in terms of burning by the hospital, and the option that was selected referred to council, and as you can see from the acting fire chief, he's reached out to them, but we did not get any response back, and we're still recommending to proceed with it, and best efforts to communicate with them and control those situations, but we still think it's a good deal for the town to proceed with the additional work at no cost to us.
With there being 2 weeks to be able to respond, I have no problem with us going forward. That we, I will read the motion here. That the council approve the addition of adding option 1 to the previously approved community fuel management plan for this fall and winter as requested by Northern Municipal Services and Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, and further that the administration be authorized to sign the amended plan.
I'll second that.
Any discussions? All right. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion's carried. Okay, so that's on to, so that this fuel management memo is that part of that?
Yeah, that was just for your information.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we're good to move on to number 9, bylaws. Bylaw number 9.1, bylaw number 640/20, first reading.
Issue report? So I have a question. When was this request submitted to council?
I'll refer this to Larry Lang or Pat
Okay.
Peacock.
Oh, December 12th, 2019. I see it right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
does
and
this...
there was actually a request in 2017 for a similar thing. And they were asked to come back with more information, which they subsequently did in 2019.
Okay, so I guess my question to this regard, is the person requesting this still in this role to be able to
Yes.
request this?
Yes, the request comes from the board,
Okay,
directors of North
all right,
South.
thank you.
So we have a recommendation and for the bylaws to be moved as well.
I'll move the first reading.
I'll second the first reading.
Any discussion? Sorry, and I'll admit I don't know. With these readings, I don't know how this works, sorry.
I do have a point of discussion.
So do I have to call the question first?
Yeah, there'll be first reading, second reading, and get that passed, and then on second reading, Councilor Abbey's question can come into play.
Okay.
Let's get through first reading first.
Okay, so then I just call question. Okay, so all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say aye. All right, so motion is carried. So bylaw number 9.2, so now we go into.
Same
second
bylaw,
reading.
second reading.
I see.
Mayor Tuesday, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Get a mover and a seconder, and then any discussion on that.
Got it.
Also move second reading.
Move second.
I'll second.
Discussion? Question, Abby?
Yes, I'm just curious about the process of doing all 3 readings. I understand that this is a kind of longstanding issue that has been put through some rigor and reviewed, but is there a public process to let the community know that we are considering this? And if there is a reason or a general feeling that we should allow the community a chance to review this, can we do third reading at our next meeting instead and allow that 2-week period or 3-week period to go on?
I can speak to that on a point of information. So with any readings of any bylaws, under the Northern Municipalities Act, we are allowed to do 3 readings in a night if there is unanimous consent from council to do a 3rd reading. So if any council member does not allow the 3rd reading, it would then be something that would be brought up at the third reading would be brought up at another meeting of council. If I'm wrong on that, Dean, you can correct me.
No, you're correct, but it's also part of your procedural bylaw that way as well. So let it get through 2nd reading, and if it's not unanimous on the 3rd reading, then it'll be tabled until the next meeting. It's certainly up to council. Our position on the matter is that the organization has been waiting for quite some time on the matter. They've been quite cooperative. Council asked us to go back and get information, which we did, and they've signed off and provided the information. So we don't see any reason why council wouldn't give 3 readings, but it's certainly your choice.
Thanks for the clarification.
All right, any other discussion or questions?
I'm assuming that because it's come to a reading, previous councils have been in favor of this request? Was that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Say aye. All right, motion is carried.
I make a motion, we do 3 readings at this meeting.
I'll second that.
Sorry, does that happens at, so we have to go into 9.4 versus a point of order, correct?
No, Councilor Hidesi is correct. He's making a motion to formalize 3 readings this evening.
Okay.
Been moved and seconded, and now you can ask for discussion, and if your council passes that, then unanimously, then you go into 3rd reading.
Got it. Okay. So do we have any discussion?
Just on a point of interest, Dean, the request here is to basically have this in place for the 2021 taxation year, correct?
2020. 2020 for 5 years. 2020 would be the starting year.
So basically abate the taxes that they've already had this year.
Yeah, because it's taken so long. The request was actually in 2019.
Yeah, it's not the fault of the organization by any means here.
Any further discussion? All right, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Say nay. All right, motion is carried to move on to the 3rd reading and adoption. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, so 9.4 by law, 3rd reading and adoption. Do we have a motion?
I'll move 3rd reading.
I'll second the reading.
Discussion? So, sorry, so that's, do we need to move here, 3rd reading and adopting?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Guys.
Yeah, that's right.
So is,
Give me a second. Just call the question.
okay, but it is, there was no hereby adopted, does it need to say that in the motion? Or am I
Yeah, you got to move her in a seconder, and if there's no further discussion, it'd be appropriate to call for the question.
I see, okay, any further discussion? I'm gonna call the question, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion is approved and adopted. That's the right terminology here, okay? We good to go into number 10?
Yeah.
New business?
Excuse me if I maybe interrupt. This is a question to Dean. Do we need to approve that agreement as well? Or does the bylaw do that?
The bylaw forms part of the agreement, I believe, is where the resolution, the way it's written. Yeah, no, I think we're okay because the bylaw gives us the authority to sign off on the agreement, in my view.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mayor Tushnet, with item 10, if my fellow council members and mayor and CEO feel this is a conflict of interest, I'm more than happy to exit the room. I don't feel that it's a conflict of interest. However, I am willing to accept anyone who does feel it's a conflict.
I agree, I don't believe you're in conflict.
Okay.
I agree as well.
Okay, perfect.
I, as a point of information here too, if anybody feels that I'm in conflict of interest as well, because I work at the JR, does anybody have anything to say against that?
Is this 10.1?
No, not yet.
Well,
It's
10,
10.2, but we're at
most of 10,
10.1 master plan.
10.1, 10.2 is what I'm referring to.
Yeah, I as well. So I think, so let's deal with the Parks Master Plan issue, and then we'll go to that. 10.1 Parks Master Plan, the report, and I guess you, Tony, you're doing.
Just to be clear, this isn't an operational matter, so there would be no conflict. This is to proceed with an action in regard to a particular project.
Okay, all right, I'll yield the floor to Tony.
Okay, so this is an issue report for to approve the Parks Master Plan RFP, the request for proposal. I'll give you a little bit of the background on it, because you guys, I'm gonna be basically saying what's in the issue report as well. But just so you know, this project, the intent of it is to prepare a 20-year parks, open space and trails master plan for the town of La Ronge. So an emphasis on it is the town of La Ronge. The plan will be prepared with input from local stakeholders in a manner appropriate to the community context and submitted to council for final approval. The new plan will provide direction in the development of a system of parks and trails, including town-owned parks, trails, dedicated lands, and recreation amenities. The selected consultant will build on previous work undertaken in park planning, including the 2018 engagement for improvements at Patterson Park and the Town of La Ronge official community plan. So we have already allocated $50,000 in the 2020 budget for this plan, and then the actual RFP is attached, and we are looking for direction, administrative recommendations for request for direction from council, that council approve the Parks Master Plan request for proposal as presented.
Any questions?
This is right now as a result of your existing purchasing policy. This is, before you as a matter of interest. So I think that it's been, it does cover off, I think, what council had requested, and the former council, I guess more specifically, had asked for, and we have included certainly a community engagement piece into the process on a methodology, and this is to release the RFP and see what the marketplace permits.
I will excitedly move that council approve the Parks and Master Plan request for proposals as presented.
I will second that.
Any discussion? All right, we'll call the question. All opposed, say aye. Or sorry, pardon me. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, motion is approved.
May I make a suggestion to administration at this point about this RFP? That it might be good to check out the consultant listings on Saskatchewan Professional Planners Institute website and email the invitation to compete in this RFP to all of them. It's only a small handful, so.
Yeah, no, they're on our radar screen along with Saskatchewan Parks and Rec, and there's some other selected companies that we're aware of that have done similar work. So yeah, a good suggestion. Thanks, we'll do that.
Okay, 10.2, let's discuss this conflict of interest first. I think everyone's already agreed that you're not in conflict. Viviana, does anybody feel that I would be in conflict here?
Absolutely not.
Structural for this.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. This has got nothing to do with the program at hand. This is to do with the replacement of a building.
Yeah, structural.
Okay, all right, so let's move forward and pull up the facility assessment. Tony.
So this is similar to the Parks one as well. This was also in the 2020 budget and for $50,000. And this is for the Uniplex facility assessment, feasibility study for a new multi-use facility. So the background here is due to the age of the facility, concern for the annual increasing maintenance and projected future major equipment replacement costs, the town requires a third-party opinion on the life expectancy of the current structure, specifically the roofing system and the structural soundness of the facility itself. However, the main focus is going to be on the facility replacement plan. That includes costs and conceptual designs for the construction of a new multi-use recreation facility. It is expected that the facility could include a hockey, figure skating, ice surfaces with spectator seating no less than what we currently have, and what we currently have is 1850. A 4-sheet curling ice arena, walking track, office space, and community meeting space. Community room spaces. Just like Dina mentioned earlier, this is also coming forward to you because of the current purchasing policy as well. The RFP itself is attached, and we are asking that council approve the request for proposal, Uniplex facility assessment, feasibility study for a new multi-use facility as presented.
Yeah, I would move to approve that request for feasibility study.
I will second.
Any discussion?
Just one.
I do.
Yeah, Joe, go ahead, and then we'll come to you, Evan.
I just, I just, in thinking ahead, if we were to look at a new facility, has there been any thought about location of it? Obviously, where it's at, if you try to put a building next to the existing one, then you got no, while construction's going on, you got no room for parking or anything else. That may be something that possibly this process could also look at is where, a possible location would be for something like that.
At this point, the RFP is predicated on existing location, and only because we don't have any other dedicated land. That doesn't mean to say that the school, we couldn't try and negotiate that with the successful bidder if the existing site isn't preferred. But that our intent was to look at the existing site.
Abby, go ahead.
It's a little nitpicky, I apologize, but I guess I'm moving to amend the motion to read the same except not as presented, correcting the second paragraph in the background to say several, not severally. The fourth paragraph be corrected to the word there, as in the possessive. And before the end of the scope statement, correct the sentence to say lowest cost.
I think those are friendly. We can make those changes. I don't think there's any need to it.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Do you want a motion for spell check?
Yeah.
Allison, did you get those details?
We can get them from Abby later, just
Okay.
before it goes out, just to make sure that
I'll
we
send
have.
an email.
Thank you.
Now, just on a point of interest, and I think this would go to administration here. The point of interest that I would raise on is the in the proposal, is there going to be things that would make this look, I guess, cost friendly by way of looking into retail space or potentially community living within the rink, like a condo association, something that could be attached to the rink where somebody can view the rink or whatever while they're the diehard hockey fans. Is there anything like that that might be considered into this RFP, or is there a way of bringing that language into this RFP when it does go out? Because I think this is kind of one of those conversations where it is a one-shot RFP. We can't be too broad, but we also can't be too narrow in the focus either.
Well, the spirit of what we were directed to do was strictly recreation based. There was no discussion ever at any time on commercial or CRUs or any type of housing related developments as part of it. So that would significantly I think, alter the price point for this project. It certainly could be expanded, but we would be in a position to release this tonight if that's the wish of council, to look at an expanded scope of work, because that wasn't the intent of what we're doing here.
And I think on a level of feasibility, I think a very important factor is the long-term cost of it. And if there is a way of putting into the RFP on ways of even potentially bringing down the cost, I really think, and I would urge councillors to consider putting that into an RFP before we go out, because this is something that we need to think of long-term, especially if we're trying to get best bang for our buck on a new multi-use facility.
I know in my own experience in going through this type of a process is that, you know, at best, we're gonna get a Class D estimate in terms of replacement cost. So it's gonna be likely plus or minus 40% at best. It's not gonna be, there'll be a lot more additional work that needs to be done to fine tune it. But I think what it'll do for council is provide you with enough information based on current dollars as to what it would take to build something of this magnitude. In my opinion, the next phase, if council goes to the next phase, which is more related to detailed design, that may be the time to open it up to location and CRUs and other uses. Probably not now, I would say, just because it's going to really drive the cost and change the full scope of the project.
If that is the case, then I would request that administration make a note of that, at the next phase of this project, that we would bring in those considerations for council discussion. With that, then I would be comfortable to continue on with making, is point of order, is there a motion on the floor already to approve the Uniplex facility assessment?
There's a mover, we need a seconder.
I will second that motion.
Yeah, we can certainly make a note in the file as this project, gets traction. If in fact it does go to the next step, then certainly those considerations can be part of it. Great idea, but I think at this point, it is what it is, and then it can go to the next phase, which would certainly increase the dollar value. Plus, it could also provide opportunity for council to look at attracting partners into those projects as well. So, but it's a tomorrow issue to me right now.
Sorry, before I have further questions here. Just with the background of this, has this gone to the community to ask what they want in the facility, or is this just what's been presented and that's what we're going with?
Well, part of this that there will be, we're asking for methodology on a community engagement piece. So I'm hoping that we'll see what the project methodology brings, and that'll be the opportunity for the community to get engaged in this thing.
For what they want in the facility itself, because
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because remember, anything is it's going to be a wish list, and then the reality of the costing is going to come into this place. So it's a feasibility study to look at the cost of in $21 to replace kind of what we have, which and then I think that the engagement process is certainly going to be part of that.
Okay, excellent. Any further discussion or questions? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion to, and sorry, I don't have the exact wording here. What was can you repeat the motion there, Allison, if you have it there, please?
Approve the request for proposal Uniplex facility assessment / feasibility study for a new multi-use facility with the recommended changes as noted by Abby.
And all in favor? Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? All right, so the motion is carried. Thank you, Tony. I guess you've got a few here, hey? Are you doing?
Yeah, the next one as well.
Okay, perfect. So 10.1, the L'Orange Women's Hockey League request for decrease in fees or fees waived.
So, if we remember back to the last meeting at Council of Whole, we had the Dark League, and this is a very similar request as well. The difference with this one is that the L'Orange Women's Hockey League currently pays fees. They use the facility right now. They currently pay fees of $90 an hour. They go every Monday evening for 1 hour. the restrictions that were announced today will put that on hold until after the new year. So some of the financial implications, we had down, my calculations will be off. It'll probably be 10 times at $90, and so the financial would be $900 there. So again, the same background as before, that in 2011, the Recreation Board made the following motion, that each user group asking for fees to be waived must clearly explain the direct benefit to the community of La Ronge, and further that each request be reviewed individually and council approve those minutes. The La Ronge Women's Hockey League charges the membership fees, and all the money goes towards their ice rental fees. Their money does not go towards anything else. So both the fear of COVID as well as many participants are healthcare workers and are just simply too busy to attend. The membership has significantly decreased, and they're really struggling to have people come out, but they're still trying to create the opportunities so adults can get out. They've actually opened it up to men coming as well. It's not just women. So a lot of boyfriends, husbands are coming out as well. So there is a letter attached from the La Ronge Women's Hockey League, and that is from Becky Groves. She is one of the executive members there. So we have the same request for direction from council, that they determine how to proceed with this matter, and that council, just as previous, that you direct administration to develop a policy regarding this stuff. And I have not done that yet regarding the other one, but I'm collecting information from other communities similar to ours.
Any questions?
Same set of circumstances. I think that council needs to develop a policy regarding subsidization, period, and then you're in a better position to determine what you want to do.
How do we do that? When can we do that?
We'll be in a better position to advise you by your next meeting. After obviously the council meeting tonight, we have a management committee meeting tomorrow. We can set some timelines for that.
Okay.
Do we table this request? Do we need a resolution to table it?
Sorry,
That would be our recommendation, yeah.
Okay, so.
Sorry, just one second.
Someone's talking.
Abby, you're just a little quiet there.
Your mic's off, I think, yeah.
I would like to move that council direct administration to develop a policy regarding waiving fees for the use of town facilities, and that a decision regarding the request from the La Ronge Women's Hockey be tabled.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll move to question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Say nay. All right, motion is approved. That's it, right, Jim?
Yeah.
Awesome.
May I be excused?
You
Or?
may be excused.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I say that, but
I move to excuse. Thanks.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I just noticed it said seconded by Joe Wardisky. It was seconded by mine. So, no launch.
Apologies, it's sometimes hard to hear who's
No,
saying what, so.
Not a problem, Allison.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. All right, 10.4, True Shine Janitorial Painting Services Issue Report.
Do you have to stand up to the podium, or?
I think you're okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Well, it's just a discretionary use for home-based business for janitorial and painting business in the residential district. Just initial offering, and then after that, if you guys are open to it, for the home-based business, then the discretionary use process will start. There's to go out and then follow the next council meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
You didn't second
So, okay, so no discussion, so we'll move to the question. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
it.
All opposed? Aye, all right, motion is approved. 10.5, Phase 1 Environmental Assessment and Geological Soils Investigation, Long-Term Issue Report. Pull her up here.
Robbie, go ahead.
This kind of came out of nowhere, I guess, back in 2016, I guess when Sask, Mama Whedon was before the SHA, I guess they were doing some concept plans over Laurent Avenue back in 2016. And it looks like maybe they had previous discussions with the previous council. I don't know, you were probably part of it, John, were you not?
There was no,
Back in 2016, probably like November, January. Anyways, they had a previous discussion with previous council about, you know, the expansion of a long-term care facility. They don't really know much details on it. I went and checked the file, couldn't find any letters or history on it. And then the issue report, they mentioned, oh yeah, he didn't have too much on his side, the contact I had there. Basically, they're looking at doing a preliminary geotech and soils analysis so they could do some engineering and designing of their expansion. They included a proposed site plan or proposed plan of what they're doing there. They haven't gone too far on it, but it looks like a fairly substantial addition there, and they'll be expanding behind those 2 lots behind the hospital area there. And basically the land's is currently owned by the town of La Ronge. And that is the area that we are going to be thinning this fall and winter, but it shouldn't have too much impact in it. I mean, I don't know the timeline of this proposed development, but basically they need to do the geotech surveys, everything looks good, then they'll move forward with communicating with the town and the next steps of acquiring land and all that stuff. So right now it's just a request for permission to do geotech surveys at the indicated locations on the plan there.
So just to be clear with council, we don't have any deal or offer to sell the property. I think this is just to see if it makes sense for them to actually go to the next level with us. So it seems to make sense in terms of the process here.
Also move to allow this group to do that geotechnical work.
So I think that I would like a little more information.
We need a seconder.
Okay, let's second it. Somebody please, any questions?
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion?
So, excuse my ignorance, but I don't know a lot about geotechnical drilling. I just see the word drilling and that scares me. So I would like more information. How far are they drilling? How many holes are they drilling? What's the land being used for? What are the safety implications around that? Do we have that information?
For your information, I mean, I've been involved with a few of these projects in the past.
Okay.
They want an expansion for a long-term care facility. They need to know what the soil consists of. So they go in, drill multiple holes on a grid to determine what the subsoil is all about. So it's just standard procedure on building development.
in order to move to the next phase of planning, they have to know how to design the base of it and what the ground conditions are going to depend.
Yeah, no, I understand that piece.
Influence how it all comes out in the design.
Viviana, I think what you are wanting to know is what's the impact,
What's the
right?
environmental impact? Yes, on both, of course, the land piece and people who may be using the land, right? Like, is anyone using the land would be my first question, and what sort of environmental impact are we looking at?
First of all, no one's using the land, and environmental impact studies could be part of the next phase. We're a little ahead of ourselves here, if in fact it's something that council needed to do.
Viviana?
Yes.
Geotechnical investigation is pretty low impact as an activity. They come in, they do the drill, cores, and they leave. There might be a little bit of tread marks. They might cut down 1 or 2 trees to get there, but we're not going to actually see a lot of impact from the actual investigation that they're asking for.
So do we have a proposal for the investigation methodology or the details of the investigation? Whatever that may be?
Well, we don't really, no, I would say we don't. They're asking for permission to drill on our site, so in advance, we'd see the grid and that's it. And we, from an administration point of view, we'd be comfortable that that's enough at this point.
I think we should be in, as cooperative as we can to get this facility. It's been a long time coming, and so whatever they need to do to get it to the next phase, I'm surely in support of it.
So we have a motion on the table. Are we amending that, or is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the table? All right, so we'll call the question then. All in favor of, sorry, Allison, can you repeat that motion again for me? It's a lengthy one.
That council approves the written request of Saskatchewan Health Authority to complete a Phase 1 environmental assessment and geotechnical soils investigation on town-owned land located on blocks 12, Plan AQ 777, and Block Y, Plan 80 PA 17918, as indicated on the proposed site plan.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Right. Let's go to award surplus vehicles and equipment, which is 10.6. Robbie, go ahead.
This is just the results of the public sealed bid auction we had, and various bids submitted, not for every item on the list, but actually a fair number of them. So we went through all the submitted bids, indicated what the numbers were, and at the very end there's an attached Schedule A awarding the sale of these items and lot numbers to the highest bidder.
I'll make a motion to move all that product out of the town compound.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right.
Just a quick discussion there, what do you feel the town's intent is with all the remaining items? Just want a scrap dealer, or what's recommendation from administration on that front?
I
Just
think in the motion there, I think we just dispose of as soon as we can, or as means, or not too sure. I don't know if there's scrappers, or if there is, maybe that'd be great if they could be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If any of those miscellaneous items will probably be tossed in the trash, and then vehicles, if we can get scrap metal up, we could. I don't know if there is, but
Scrap metal comes up every couple of years.
every year, right? So it's, we can hold on to the vehicles for a while, but now we have some vehicles left, so now there's a few people in town that take them, but if we want any money for recouping, I don't know. We'll figure something out.
We'll deal with it and do our best to try and reclaim some of it, or just dispose as we can. Legal.
Thank you.
All right. Any further question? Or sorry, any further discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Say nay. All right. Motion's carried. Okay. 10.7 award of the furnace replacement. Please go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, so I guess we did an RFQ or / RFP was put out. I guess previous council wanted a proposal to convert. I guess brief overview. I don't know if you're familiar with the town office here. There are 3 furnaces. One serves the old library edition. 2 serve the town office side, where the furnaces have kind of reached their expiration date. They're over 20 years old. Some parts are starting to corrode from the water and stuff, and 2 of them are actually non-functional at this time. So it was just years already? 99, yeah.
I remember when they put it in.
99, it's been some time. So he's been having some issues lately. So basically, previous council also wanted a proposal to convert 2 of the furnaces into a single furnace. We went out and the contractors recommended that kind of method because they have 2 zones of heating, 2 thermostats outside. One furnace controls the outside ring, one controls the inside area. One might work more than the other in 2 zones. So I reached out and asked, and they said no, I wouldn't recommend it. So we had 3 bids. One came a little late. I don't know what happened with that one, but in the end we had 2 qualified bidders. The third one was dated the right day, but it didn't get to the next day. 3 qualified bids total. One was selected as we had 2 options. One was for a single stage furnace and optional extra for a 2-stage. After talking with one of the contractors and looking into it, doing some Googling, so I recommend just stick with a simple single stage furnace. A little simpler, a little more reliable. Due to new energy codes and stuff, all the furnaces are standard with a DC motor, which compare they used to be AC, so now they're DC. So comparing apples to apples, well, they weren't all 100% correct. We're replacing the one, we had one successful bidder, I recommend approving that one. It was the lowest price and came within the budget. 95%, I recommend the Laurentini Economy just because of the price. The warranty period is about the same for all of them. Having Heal 1 year, they're in-house, and an additional year after that with the manufacturer. Laurentini Plumbing had 1 year labor manufacturing.
Robbie, can I stop you there? I don't know, what do I do? Just shut my computer off, because I will definitely declare conflict here, so I'll, I guess, shut my computer off, or I don't know what that happens when I'm not there.
Can we call them back maybe after, or?
Yeah, that's okay.
Hugh, you can press the red button to hang up, and we can call you back into the meeting.
Okay, thanks. Sorry for not acknowledging that earlier, but anyway, thank you.
Lisa, if you look at the issue report, there had a little background, a little overview of all the posts.
I'm prepared to make a motion that council award the contract to supply and install 95% efficient single stage furnaces at the town office to Laurent Plumbing for the total of $10,905.75, which includes GST of and GST.
There's a second here? I'll second. Any discussion?
I have one point of interest on the administrative recommendation to go with the on the administrative recommendation. The quote that we received, are we getting the same quality of furnace in comparison to the other bidders that have put in? Was that weighed in the consideration of the administrative recommendation?
No, I didn't look into the manufacturer name or history. It's like Ford versus GM kind of thing. I just kind of looked at if the furnace could put out 120,000 BTUs. I mean, yeah, it wasn't based on what they're going to put in. I didn't trust the manufacturer.
I have that.
Short answer is yes, they were compared side by side, and this was the recommendation.
I'm familiar with that brand of furnace, and there's no issues that I've seen, so I'm comfortable with making the motion.
Just like that, yeah, every contractor had their own manufacturer furnace. They couldn't compare the same furnace from every contractor.
Okay, I am comfortable on making a decision on this recommendation, and I will avoid all time to any other council that might have a question.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion's carried. Okay. Right, we move to 10.8, which is a credit card policy issue report. Dean, take her away.
I'll let Larry or Pat speak to that.
Is Pat on?
I can go grab her. I think she's just in her office, or Allison, what, she's going to be Skyped in, or is she going to join us, or?
You bet, we're back.
Go get her?
Yeah, go get her, Ron,
Okay.
please, thank you. Go ahead, Larry, if you want a background.
Okay, we use credit cards within our system. There's certainly a need to do that. I mean, you can't purchase things online that you might need from time to time. If you're booking hotels for staff or for council, you can't do that without a credit card. It can't be debit card, can't be cash. We have a credit card, 2 credit cards right now with a combined limit of $20,000, and all we're doing is formalizing a policy that outlines their use and responsibilities, who gets cards, We're not suggesting any increase in the combined maximum at all. It just talks about some process and those kind of things for making sure that everything is accounted for.
Pat, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think he's done a great job.
Short answer.
Can I ask for clarification?
Sure.
Number 6F, so the purchasing limits are set out. Now, you say there's only a combined limit of $20,000, but there's an additional 17,000 plus indicated in cards.
That's the max on each card, but the combined limit of all the cards is $20,000.
Oh, okay, so all cards are connected and
That's right.
the 20,000 is as far as, okay.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
There should be no problem with that 20,000 limit in terms of carrying business on for month to month.
No.
I understand the need to have credit cards, and I understand the need to use them because sometimes purchases are, you need to get an online purchase or whatever, you have to have a card number, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah,
So,
it's the new norm, I think, yeah.
yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation on this credit card issue.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor of the credit card policy, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion is carried. 10.9, sorry, I'm gonna pass the chair to Jordan. I'm gonna need the washroom really bad, so Deputy Mayor Jordan, that's your go.
Could we just call a recess?
If you like, I mean, I have to pee so bad.
I will call a recess. On a point of personal privilege, I will call a recess for 15 minutes. And we will
Thank you.
You go.
I don't know how this works.
I'll second that motion.
I was like, you're either just gonna pee or not.
I do a lot.
I thought you had to pee. Do you want to just call me back?
Maybe.
Can I ask you a question, and Jordan, you can weigh in on this. I was under the impression that the minutes didn't need to be voted on. Is that incorrect?
No, they have to be voted on
They do,
and accepted to be official, yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was my mistake.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos lately, so some say yes and some say no, and yeah.
Nobody has to use the washroom in your YouTube videos?
No!
Is everybody back, or is there recess over?
No, Abby's not back yet.
Don't watch anything with Donald Trump calling, because I'll just mess you up.
Oh, that's my first mistake, I guess. Okay. But I do feel much better, so thank you so much.
Is Abby the only person we're waiting for?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, rock and roll time.
Abby, you good to go? Okay. I will call the meeting back to order at 9:18. Let's go into 10.9, purchasing policy issue report. Sorry, I guess I need to ask for the chair back before I do that.
I will pass the chair back to
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
So a little bit of quick background before I call on Larry or Pat into this is that part of our role with the town was to review all policies, and this one seemed to be cause a lot of administrative issues in terms of purchasing and procurement and moving processes along. As you know, the way the current policy sits, every invoice over the CO spending limit has to come to council for approval, and in some cases, council may have actually looked at the same matter at least 2 times and the 3rd time. So it does delay us certainly administratively, and it does also could get to the point of costing us money on interest, which I don't believe it has today. We're trying to move along. So what we've done is modernize the policy, I think, to it actually mirrors the administration bylaw that council has previously passed in relation to the spending limits. Probably in our view, the biggest issue for council to discuss is on page 1 of 6 and 2 of 6, and we've provided 2 options for you. Option 1 deals with, current policy had local preference, and in effect that meant if all things were equal, that the local bidders would be given preferred option based on the formulas that you see in front of you. And the contrary option to that is what's called a best value procurement practice. And what that means is that preference by a means of weighing criteria does recognize local bidders and locals' ability to procure without making it a discriminatory process. A lot of the communities and municipalities that we spoke to did not have local preference policies. Well, certainly it does provide an advantage to local business. The other side of that story is that it also could raise the incremental cost to the taxpayers, which from council's point of view, your obligation is to get the best deal regardless of location. So that's something I think we'd like to have council engage in and determine your preference on that. As well, I think it outlines more clear procurement processes and when they tend to kick in totality. what I'll do here is turn it over to Larry and or Pat to add any value to that as well.
Just, I guess, one comment just on the authority. As Dean said, it does reflect what's in the admin bylaw. And the way we've written this one is after that, the CAO would provide a level of authority to managers and directors as he determines is appropriate, rather than putting it in a policy and having to, because everyone's needs as far as purchasing are different. So that provides us, with some flexibility to change that to meet the needs over time.
So just on a point of interest, on the proposal that you have in front of us here, when I look at the highlighted portion that you directed us to look at here under the item K, is it either what is item K or what is in the box? Is what you're
either one?
Either one, yeah.
Either one.
Yeah. No, current policy is K, and if we were to make a recommendation, we would recommend against that and go to best value because it provides more opportunity to procure and still allows local bidders the right to bid and compete. And I'll use the example of things like, in best value, things like service, which would be a local advantage versus an outside bidder. Things of that nature that we know are localized can have a higher weight depending on the item. And we actually have used unknowingly used best value probably more than we have local preference. I believe since I've been there over the past year, the only time this came into play was in our general tenders on our fuel. And that's where it came into play. Otherwise, we've never ever had to invoke it. And part of what has not been happening, if it stays in place, it's something that needs to be publicly advertised as well, that we have a local preference policy. So that's where it tends to make it prejudicial in terms of getting best value, because eventually the marketplace won't compete because they know that discrepancy on larger ticket items is going to make the difference, and we think that best value can accomplish the same thing. So we'll stop it there and get some feedback from council.
Oh, I'm going to use the example that you had brought forward was up in regards to the fuel, Dean. I don't know if you were around, but when a local vendor is dealing with a low price coming in from Alberta, well, I guess, yeah, let's just put the nail in the coffin of another business. And I think that could be said in whether or not it's supplying lumber. The best value, wow, I'll tell you, let's all go shop at Amazon, I guess. See what that does for the backbone of our community.
To Hugh's point, I'm just curious about, you kind of touched on it, Dean, but has the local preference option swayed the award to local business where it would not have qualified as best value more often than not?
I don't know, because using Councillor Watt's example, that's one element that we procure. I would say that we competitively price. I don't know, Larry, help me out here. Like the amount that we procure, and frankly, one of the things that has shifted this past year is that I think has changed is the way the town does business with contractors. Is that we have put things in writing. We have requested competitive pricing, and we've gone on our shift totally away from anything verbal, and everything's in writing, and there has been a format and a process to do that. But Larry, do you have any idea, or Pat, on how many processes we go through, not just RFQs, but RFPs and competitive pricing? It's a lot.
Yeah, I wouldn't know a dollar value on it. Again, as you mentioned, Dean, I haven't seen where with a local preference has come in, and I mean, regardless of which way you go on this, or Coffee decides to go, it needs to be part of the RFQ and tender documents, and it's never been there before, so the impact, I guess, would remain to be seen.
It's going to be a little bit off here, but on actually under definitions of 2G, a request for proposal, a request to suppliers to submit innovative proposals for the supply of goods and services. RFPs do not apply in terms, you see where I'm at. Need not be advertised unless the value of the purchase is expected to exceed 100,000. According to the New West Partnership, it's 75,000 or greater. So it would have to go to an RFP.
No, I believe it's 100,000.
Just for construction. 75,000 for goods, 75,000 for services.
It's, if you look at competitive bidding, you have 3.6. And we can check that just to make sure, but fairly certain, 100,000 and 250. 100,000 for goods, 250,000 for construction.
Yeah, I'm just on the New West Partnership Trade website right now. And under section 3 here, municipalities, school boards, health regions, and publicly funded post-secondary institutions, as well as corporations or entities owned or controlled by one of the preceding, 75,000 for or greater for goods, 75,000 or greater for services, or 200,000 or greater for construction. So that's the only reason why I was going back to that, is I did think that there was something that came in at 75,000. So I would prefer to see that.
Well, we have to.
Yeah, we have, you know, fair enough. Yeah, that can be changed.
And then on the matter of local preference, I would like to see the language in here, especially in these times, that we do put in preferences to local business, even if it does incrementally raise the fees of what we would typically see. If our standard practice has been that local bidders are the lowest price, then that makes sense, because we're dealing with people that are in our own home communities, and we don't have the mob and demob construction costs. So for me, I would prefer to see the current language that we have there, and I would urge other councils to follow the same.
I agree with Councillor McPhail. There's a best value that we do find in supporting local businesses, and I understand why that has been the policy previously, and I'd probably support keeping that in for, at the risk of, I guess, biasing towards out-of-town companies where we can find local supply that is competitive.
Okay, any further discussion? Any motions on this?
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the town purchasing policy with item K, or with item 2K in the administrative recommendation, and with the amendment to item 2G to show $75,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We call the question. All in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion is carried. Let's go to 1010. I think that's all for you, right, Pat?
That's right.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much.
Yeah, Pat.
And yeah.
All right, the 2021
Thank you. Good night.
council meeting schedule issue report. Let's go to Dean.
Dean, your mic is muted.
Sorry, based on the chat we had with council, we're looking at Tuesdays, which is option 3, at 7 o'clock. It provides with the least amount of disruption and provides us with more time in order to prepare and to administer the actions from council. So if council's in agreement, that's why we recommended option C.
Yeah, I would move to approve option 3 as presented with respect to the 2021 council meeting date schedule, which is on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and provide notice of those meetings to the public via the town website.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, so all in favor of the motion on the table, say aye.
Aye.
So we will publicly advertise these now on the website and lock and load these. Thank you very much.
Okay. Sorry, there was a big lag in that one, so I didn't hear everyone's ayes. So can we just go back to, as a point of order, just to do that again, please? So all in favor of the motion from Viviana, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say aye. All right, motion's approved. Okay, 1011, brush cutting invoice.
That we didn't actually get that information ready, so we're gonna have to move that to the next meeting.
Do we need a motion for that, correct?
No, we'll just leave it with us and we'll deal with it tomorrow. Sorry.
Okay, 1012, Christmas Spirit Contest. I think that's you, right, Viviana?
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Aye. So with the rationale that we are living through challenging times, that many community members will be staying in the community due to travel restrictions and restrictions on familial gatherings during the Christmas season, I would like to propose that the town of La Ronge, I guess, host or spearhead a community Christmas spirit contest consisting of either people creating a light display or a display using snow or ice related to Christmas in their homes, acknowledging that not everyone might have access to Christmas lights, putting them up, the cost associated with electricity use, that sort of thing, and that the town of La Ronge provide a prize of some kind, nothing major, but like a gift card, and that's something that council could determine, just to, I guess, enhance community spirit during Christmas and these challenging times. Historically, we have not had a Christmas spirit contest of any type, at least for 10 years or more. I know that at one point it's like a residential contest, and it could be extended to businesses. I know that in the past the Chamber of Commerce had spearheaded something, but that hasn't been the case for the past 10 years. Our surrounding communities within our tri-community area do typically have some sort of contest or Christmas spirit initiative. So I don't know if my fellow council members and Mayor Tushnak would be in favor of that.
Any thoughts from anybody else?
Just for council's information, it isn't anything that we did budget for, so this would be another budget expense.
Okay. So if it is an out of budget expense, the other piece would be that simply the reward would be community bragging rights, right?
Do we have any committees that look after this type of stuff? I mean, the chamber, I mean, they weren't even able to get, we weren't able to get someone to put the Christmas lights and someone did that for us. But do we have a committee, like a town committee that does that?
That could be tasked with putting the regulations or the rules and getting the word out there?
We don't have anything in place structurally to do that right now, and I think when Councilor brought it to my attention, I said that likely it's best to bring it before council and see if it's a concept that's supported by council first, and if it isn't, it is what it is, and if it is, then we'd have to try and sort it out administratively if this is the direction council wants to go.
Right?
Yeah, my concern with this would be who is going to like spear this this task, because it would consist, I think, of a lot of work. So we have to make sure we have things in place, and I'm just speaking on behalf of what our experience with Men of the North and trying to get people to spearhead things and do things and come through with things is a very difficult task, and it could be even more difficult over Christmas as well.
Not to mention like who's gonna judge it, and then do we,
Yeah,
do
well,
we
yeah,
run into problems there too?
Yeah.
For biases, and I love the idea personally, I think it's great, and I think
Maybe
it's something.
something like maybe next Christmas.
Could we invite a community group to do the judging?
Like, or even a
Like
parade
a
or something.
nonprofit group to do the judging, possibly
Yeah.
connect to do the judging? I think just kind of put it out there, if anyone interested?
I mean, I think that would protect us in a way too, so that we're
Mhm.
not running into potential problems with that, but I, like,
If the chamber is, you know, willing to partner, I mean, they could be an independent, you know,
yeah.
you bring the idea to the chamber and, you know, and if they want to put something up and just.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking of, it would give people something to do, right?
I think it's a great
Look
idea.
around, look at lights,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
walk around, look at lights.
I,
And we could exempt ourselves from being part of the contest, right?
Hey,
For other- Well,
sorry, go ahead, Abby.
The Christmas spirit is awesome. I love the idea, except we don't administratively have the capacity to implement it from the town's administration, from what I know. But from the perspective of financial, a small amount of money put forward, like if we could agree on a small amount of money, put it out there, if there is a community group that wants to take on the project, we will fund the prizes, they must implement it. That's one potential option that we could do, if we do choose to go forward this year with it, but I don't see a good path forward other than offering a little bit of money.
Yeah. I mean, the.
Allison, I see.
Yeah, just permission to speak on that. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I think it's been brought up, you know, administratively, I just don't know if we have the capacity at this point to do that. However, what about the option, and I'm just throwing it out there, of kind of putting it out to the community to say, hey, come check out my display at, you know, such and such address, and then it gives people the opportunity to, you know, share their display and, you know, the locations to kind of go and check it out, almost like a map, I guess. I don't know if that's something to consider, and then if people are looking for something to do, they can drive around to different places to check out the various displays. Just putting that forward, something to think about, but yeah, I like the idea.
yeah.
Those that are probably driven past my own house have probably seen
possible
my
option
crazy
is,
display, but.
If I may, from a general administrative point of view, I think that I agree that the idea and the concept are phenomenal, particularly given the health situation that we're in. I think though that it's, in my view, it's more appropriate that these types of program concepts of any nature, if council wishes to proceed to do it, then these are really budget items that, you know, you really should bring your concepts to the table and discuss them, and then, you know, the determination on how it's resourced, staff or money or otherwise, can be part of that, because, you know, this could be perpetual, you know, an idea coming forward and out of budget, and we're caught into that circular committee, and right now, from a staffing point of view, we're at capacity, and it's not that I don't think that we don't want to do it. I think that, you know, there might be a more appropriate means if it's that important to the community, and the community should engage, and we can be a player in that game. But to expect the town to do a run to run every program, to me, doesn't seem realistic.
Sorry, Joe, did you have something?
I don't mean to sound like the Grinch, but it came across that way.
From a budgetary perspective, this is the discussion that we need to have if we want a programmer position. So we can talk about this in our budget talks, I think.
Sorry, Joe had something.
Agreed.
I was gonna say, maybe because it's short notice, perchance the Elks Club would undertake something like that. You know, they've done food drives for, you know, for the soup kitchen, and they undertake community projects, and maybe they would.
Yeah.
It might be worth partnering with them, just.
Yeah, I do have a couple of nonprofit groups I can approach that somewhat involved in, and I'm fairly sure that 2 of those might be very interested. So if council is okay with me as, I don't know, like how do I divide my role between counselor and private person Viviana, right? Like that's the tricky piece for me.
I'll make a motion that we appoint Vivian as the chair of our Christmas spirit.
Okay. Okay, I walked into that one, but okay.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll move.
All right, discussion, sorry, Councilor Jordan, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, to appoint somebody to a committee with them being the only person, and I guess it was more of a point of order, or maybe a point of information prior to the motion. So I'm kind of at a loss as to where I'm at, but if I'm out of order, call me out of order. But what I would say is that I think if any member of the community outside of a council chamber or town administrative staffing wants to organize something, it doesn't need to be a motion of council. They can just go and do that work as long as there is no financial or in-kind contributions coming from the town, then you are acting as a general member of the public that cares about the community. It's no different than if I want to go and shovel snow for seniors. I don't need somebody to appoint me as the person that Jordan McPhail is the town councillor that is appointed to the senior snow shoveling initiative. So I would say that this might fall under that same.
I like that idea though.
Yeah. I would say that I believe that this motion, in my mind, would be out of order because it doesn't really involve anything with the administrative duties or policy work of the town of La Ronge unless there is a financial or in-kind contribution from the town of La Ronge.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Wasn't there talk of a financial contribution from the town?
There was, but the motion currently does not have anything in relation to a financial contribution from the town of La Ronge. So in that case, it does not have anything to truly do with the town council business, in my mind. That's what I believe on any rules of order matter.
Having said that, from an administrative perspective, there certainly is room in the budget if council did want to dedicate a up to dollar amount. That could be a prize that wouldn't be out of order as well. I think just in the spirit of the request, even though it's out of budget, I think that it's an area on the council side of the ledger. We could we're going to be in $1 million surplus situation. I think that we could find $100 or $200. If this is the will of council, if not, fair enough.
I'll amend my motion to include that the town will contribute $200 for the committee to use for rewarding people with the Christmas spirit in La Ronge.
Is there a second? Okay, so the original motion is still on the table. Is there any further discussion before I call the question?
I would, if the original motion is still there, I would actually prefer a ruling on the order that I brought up, is that if this doesn't involve town business or town finances, then I don't know if the motion would be in order.
I mean, I agree with you. I don't know what right they have on that.
I would agree that to appoint someone to something that has no authority, this is really a matter of, it wouldn't be in order, but if council wanted to commit municipal funds, that would be in order to make that motion.
Okay, so I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, so we just call that out of order and then we just take it off the table, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so.
Okay. And as a point of order, if somebody wanted just the financial contribution, and any member of council can go and talk to community organizations to see if they would like to start it and start talking to the administrative people of the town to be able to access those funds, that would be the way of doing it, in my mind.
Okay. All right, so that just sits, that just stops, right, the conversation on that, we can just move on, is that correct? Okay.
Well, I'd like to express that I'm disappointed, but I respect the decision made. I do feel that we really need to be community-minded and try to help the community by raising spirits and mental wellness as a whole, right? So, but thank you for your input and supports, those that offered it, I appreciate that.
I think we are gonna donate, we can't spearhead it.
No, for sure, for sure.
I think, I mean, again, probably speaking in return, but I'm just gonna say this anyways, is that I think if you go out to some other organization,
Yeah.
just set it up and then come back to council table with what you want, then I think then we can
Right.
probably do it that way. Is that fair, Dean? Is that right?
Yeah, that would be appropriate, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then we can move on. Number
I'll
11.
make a motion to go in camera.
Is there a second? Do we need a seconder?
Yes.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
See, you guys will be.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, much else on the camera or?
No, we're not gonna be okay.
Good.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
Well, if
kidding.
you guys are gonna be well, then I'll just come back later, but
Okay,
maybe
I'm
quick,
just
then I'll
teasing.
stay here then.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Thanks, Harvey.
Thanks, Allison. If you can wind down and then we'll get into it here with council.
Yeah, and then if you can just send me the notes then
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah. Larry, do you want to keep track of when we come out of camera and that, if you don't mind?
Have a good evening, Allison. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Allison.
Thanks,
Just,
Allison.
just post the live stream here as well.
Okay.
Might want to make sure that's done.
Thanks, Allison.
Larry, are you there?